Hi everybody, this is Carolyn Elliott and you are listening to The Alchemical Journey. This audio series I record while I walk around my neighborhood, so sometimes you'll hear me breathing heavy when I walk up hills, and sometimes you'll hear cars and stuff passing by. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about what to do when you pull a, quote, bad card as your card of the day in your alchemical journaling practice. So especially if you use the Thoth deck, which can be quite blunt and perhaps pessimistic in its assessment of some cards' energies, you can get kind of, a little bit jolted or creeped out when you pull a card. So for example, in the past few weeks, a few times I have pulled the 9 of Swords, Cruelty. Cruelty is a scary looking card in the Thoth deck. It's a scary looking card in the Rider-Waite deck. And it basically has to do with being cruel to oneself. I think it might be associated with Mars and Gemini, but don't quote me on that because I didn't double check. So yeah, this idea of being cruel to oneself at a deep level. So what happens when I pull one of these darker cards is I like to treat it as an instruction or a suggestion about something to examine as possibly being present in my unconscious that I could apply some existential kink to. So existential kink is this deep meditation. It's an alchemical process that I wrote a whole book about. You can go find it on Amazon or Audible if you want. And basically it involves going within and giving myself permission to let myself bodily feel pleasure in things that I ordinarily would recoil from, or that my ego says that I hate or I don't like. So pulling the Cruelty card, it gave me some occasion to acknowledge and recognize that indeed I can be very, very mean to myself. Where did I learn this from? Well, like everything, it goes back to some deep childhood wounding stuff. Why did the childhood wounding occur? Well, we could get real metaphysical about it, and it could be some deep karmic things with me. But basically, I have this familiarity, this vibration, this resonance with a very, mean, cruel chord being struck. And I felt it being struck by the people around me when I was growing up, and now I know how to strike it for myself, and sometimes when I'm mad at an argument with a loved one, unfortunately, with others. So this vibration of cruelty, what to do with it? Well, the general answer that I have for everything, and which is part of existential kink, is to set my sights in the direction of loving what feels unlovable. So I've been spending some time recently in existential kink meditation, just letting this vibration of cruelty, of meanness, of criticalness come up in my body, letting myself feel it, letting myself feel the intensity of it, and giving permission to the part of me that is just really fascinated with, really compelled by, curious about, in love with this vibration of cruelty or meanness, to just go ahead and drink that in, to receive it, to be fulfilled by it, to enjoy it thoroughly. So that's what I do when I pull a darker card. I go in and I find, where in me is this active, and where can I deliberately, consciously give it love? Because in a way, this is what all of the cards signify. So when we pull a card of the day, we are usually asking a question, show me what today brings. So I like to do a little chant in my head. I say, Odin, Hermes, Mercury, Thoth, show me what today brings. And I say that a few times while I shuffle my cards, and then I pull a card. And, I notice what it is, and I write it down in my journal. So the thing with this is whenever we ask a question and we pull a card, what the card shows us is the unconscious of the question, the underside of the question, the corollary of the question. Every question necessarily implies its answer, and the part, the answer is the part that is as yet unknown, as yet unconscious. So, in a way, the cards are always showing us what is active in our unconscious, because it's through being active in us, in our unconscious and our larger psyche, that themes and synchronicities and events and whatnot become active in the, quote, external world. And I put that in quotes because there really is no hard barrier between internal and external realities. It's a sometimes alarmingly fluid continuum. And if you want to read more about this, I recommend Psyche and Matter by Marie-Louise von Franz. Is a really excellent depth psychology reflection about how synchronicity works and how, the inner and the outer are very fluidly related, which is also the same premise of, Hermeticism in general. As above, so below, or psychologically speaking, as within, so without. So when I pull a card and I'm asking, show me what today brings, what it brings can be some kind of external reflection of cruelty, for example. So if I'm internally being kind of mean to myself and putting myself down, I may not even realize it. It may be below the threshold of my conscious thought, but it may be like a program, a complex that's running somewhere in the background. And maybe it causes me to be overly critical to my partner, and then maybe he gets irritated, and maybe we have a fight, maybe we just say mean things to each other, and then that cruelty becomes externalized. So, but it pretty much always starts in me. Same thing with when I pull a really great card, like the Nine of Cups is happiness. When I pull the Nine of Cups, similarly, usually there's been some really deep gratitude or some really deep, vulnerable, intimate connection that I've been working on, that's been bubbling up from inside of me. And that is then going to get some reflection in the external world. Like, because I've been cultivating gratitude so much, the people around me feel really appreciated. And, we go have a picnic, and it's just a lovely picnic because everybody feels seen and felt and loved, etc. So those are some thoughts about how we work with the card of the day. You never have to be afraid. You never have to be worried or scared if you pull a bad card. Basically, it's just giving you information. It's saying like, hey, this is present in the unconscious / spirit world / underworld, and bring your attention to it, address it, work with it deliberately, or else it's going to unconsciously create your fate. Again, to get back to that favorite quote of mine that I'm always harping on because I just think it's so brilliant, and if we really understand it, it can change our lives forever. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So far from being a negative thing when we pull one of these scary cards in the Thoth deck, it's actually a really awesome thing. It's giving us a warning. It's giving us a heads up so that we have the ability to notice what's going on, to recognize it, and to alter it, to shift it. So you may find that and I found this the other day, that I went inside and I did notice some really harsh self-criticism and self-condemnation that I had not noticed before I pulled the card. And I was able to give it some attention and embrace and celebration and love. And then I was able to let it go, and it didn't affect the rest of my day. And I didn't have to get into a fight with somebody I love, and I didn't have to perpetuate that cruelty in the world, because through this wonderful dialogue that's available to me via the tarot with the larger part of myself, I was able to come to consciousness, come to awareness of it sooner rather than later. Oh man, you know what you learn when doing an audio series in your neighborhood? You learn that people do so much yard work with so very many loud motory things. Okay, so that's it for today. By the way, if you happen to be listening to this around the time it's recorded, the week of September 21st to September 29th, 2020, the Wealth community is now open for application. So Wealth is a community where leaders learn to shift to a 1,000% better relationship with money, love, inspiration, and the Alchemical Journal is one of our foundational practices in Wealth that we all do. And we all do the renewal of our word ritual. And we also do a prayer over food ritual. It's really cool. People have really tremendous results. Some folks are tripling, quadrupling their incomes, getting the clarity and the confidence to start new businesses, having big revivals in their love lives, feeling creative blocks dissolve that have been there for a long time. Really astounding happenings. And you can read all about them and watch videos with people talking about them at carolyngraceelliott.com/wealth. And you can also click the buttons on that page to fill out the application. So I hope you do that and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.